Gotta brag about one of our own. Colorado produces another champion who's now off to face the world.
I've never been to Italy. This is my first trip to Europe.
A local radio station puts a temporary freeze on a popular holiday song over complaints about its lyrics. There's bound to be talk tomorrow. RTD remains in that big, expensive legal fight with its contractor. How much is that costing, and where is that money coming from? I like history, I like Denver, I like random things. We have a news segment with all of those great things. Next. Alrighty, tonight we start with a riddle. How many lawyers does it take to run the A-line? Actually, it's not a riddle. It's a question we posed to RTD and Denver Transit Partners, the group RTD hired to build, run, and maintain the A-line. You see, between RTD and DTB suing each other and the feds threatening to shut the A-line down, lawyers are, of course, getting a lot of money. Marshall Zellinger is trying to follow that money, but instead, Marshall, you're getting a lot of paperwork.
I risked shoving all this obligatory paperwork onto the floor by tilting it. This cost me $1/4 a page to get from the Judicial Library downtown. The lawyers it took to write what's on my quarter per page, that I can't find. Okay, that's the only time I'm going to use the sound of a horn or the ding of the gates. Because this story is not about the A-line, it's about how much the A-line is costing us in legal fees. RTD and DTP are suing each other over the A-line delays. And they're using lawyers in Colorado, Washington, D.C., New York, and Minnesota to prove their cases. How much is that costing us? RTD told me the legal costs RTD incurs for a specific issue are confidential. RTD hired DTP to build and run the A-line, and now we know, based on the lawsuit between the two, DTP wants $80 million or more from RTD because of the delays. This legal document doesn't spell out why $80 million. Essentially, DTP says they built what RTD requested. RTD says they didn't because federal regulators aren't satisfied. Federal regulators have given RTD a deadline later this month to come up with a plan to get the crossing gates to stay down at a consistent rate. The one thing RTD and DTP agree on, the A-line is safe, despite the concern at times the gates stay down too long. You know, from my previous reporting, we had said that DTP was seeking $6 million from RTD in fines for having to have the flaggers. Now we know they want $80 million plus and won't tell us how we get to that $80 million. And Jeremy, fares go up next month for RTD, including the A-line to the airport from $9 to $10.50. I asked, does any of this have to do with why fares are going up? And of course, RTD said there's a number of things, but not the legal part.
Oh, well, way to break it down, Marshall. Thank you. Now I feel like a BLT with all those acronyms. Thanks a lot. As if buying a home wasn't hard enough, the person you're supposed to trust to give your house a once-over for any major problems is not regulated by the state of Colorado. Other states regulate. Here's our Anusha Roy with what's been going on with home inspectors.
The moment has come. You found a home, you're itching to close the deal. It's a moment when you don't want any surprises.
Currently, home inspectors are not regulated by the state in Colorado.
These are the people trusted to tell families if there are any problems with their roof, floors, electrical systems, even checking for radon gas, which can cause cancer.
A little more than half of the states have some form of regulation. And then there are a lot of states that have no requirements whatsoever.
So sure, it's possible. You can hire someone in Colorado who probably shouldn't be inspecting your house. But a lot of people also voluntarily go to a group like the American Society of Home Inspectors to get certified. 365 people to be exact in Colorado. And Frank Lesh with the society said licensing only goes so far.
Once licensing occurs in a state, it opens the door for everybody and his uncle to get training to be a home inspector.
Then there are buyers themselves facing fierce competition here and skipping an inspection altogether.
I have seen a lot of buyers doing that because they're afraid that if they're the one who inspects and maybe the other buyer doesn't, or vice versa, that they may or may not get the home.
Matt Leprino with the Colorado Association of Realtors said they run the risk of not catching issues with things like sewer lines and having to pay thousands of dollars to fix a problem after the fact.
Every buyer is going to be a seller one day.
So what do? There's a lack of regulation, but inspections are important. good old-fashioned research can really serve you well. And a lot of those inspectors, they're a part of a whole bunch of even international associations. They were telling me that their checks and balances are even stronger than the government ones in the states that actually do have regulations, unlike us.
And I could bet most of them are honest and would welcome any questioning about their background.
Exactly. And if they're not, well, then that's a red flag.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks a lot, Anusha. With just one more month in office, Governor John Hickenlooper took another loss today. He asked the state Supreme Court to review 2 tax laws in Colorado, but the court said, nope, we're not going to do that. Of course, they said that in more formal and legal terms. Let's get into this quickly without making you fall asleep at your couch there. It involves the famous Taxpayer Bill of Rights, a.k.a. TABOR. That limits how much revenue the state can keep each year. The law also says we voters must approve tax increases. The Gallagher Amendment has reduced the amount of property taxes homeowners pay. That limits how much money police and fire and schools get. Hickenlooper asked the state Supreme Court to give a legal opinion on any conflicts between these 2 laws. The Supreme Court today essentially said, nope, no thanks, we'll do that next. Prosecutors say a police officer will not face charges for the death of a homeowner who had just killed an intruder inside his Aurora home. Adams County DA Dave Young says body cam footage shows police repeatedly telling Richard Black to drop his weapon before Officer Drew Limbaugh fires 3 times. Police later learned the 73-year-old Vietnam War veteran was defending his grandson from an intruder who had been beating the child. Police say Black was hearing impaired from his time in the military service. A highly unusual criminal case that's made our news quite a bit has come to a legal resolution. It involves a 19-year-old Colorado girl who put an ad on Craigslist seeking someone to kill her. The man who ended up clicking on that ad and then following through with that act has pleaded guilty. For more on this case, here's my colleague Kevin Vaughn from the 9 Wants to Know team. Kevin, this ended with a plea deal here.
Jeremy, Joseph Lopez originally faced a first-degree murder charge in last year's killing of Natalie Bollinger, and with it the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison. Today, he agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder and accept the maximum sentence, 48 years in prison. Adams County District Attorney Dave Young said there were risks in going to trial, maybe a not guilty verdict, maybe a verdict to a lesser charge and a shorter sentence. In the end, he said this deal guaranteed that Lopez will spend decades behind bars.
You do the best you can to get what a reasonable outcome in the case may be. And you know, people say justice. It's hard to say justice is in any murder case regardless of the outcome because it doesn't bring that family member back.
As Colorado law now stands, the earliest Lopez could be eligible for parole is 36 years from now. There's no guarantee it'll happen then, Jeremy.
All right, thank you, Kevin. May I make a recommendation? This is where we tell you about something, anything that isn't ours, but is actually worth your time. And this one really is. It's an accounting of the final days of George H.W. Bush at his home in Houston by New York Times writer Peter Baker. It details his final days and last words of our 41st president. Those words were, "I love you too." He was responding to his son, George W. Bush, our 43rd president, on Friday night. The younger Bush was on speakerphone from his home in Dallas, telling his father he had been a wonderful dad and that he loved him. George H.W. Bush was 94 years old. Admittedly, sometimes with the news cycle, it's easy to forget we are still fighting a war in Afghanistan. This reminder sometimes comes with sad news. His name was Sergeant Jason McClary from Pennsylvania, and he was based out of Fort Carson here in Colorado. 4 years ago, he entered the Army and served a tour in Iraq. This past April, he headed to Afghanistan for another tour in the military, in the infantry. Less than a week ago, a bomb went off in Afghanistan, and McClary was injured. After he was flown to a base in Germany, he passed away. He received numerous commendations for his service, including for valor. McClary was just 24 years old. A Colorado teen has brought home a national championship.
Every member of my family has been super important in getting me here.
The playoff race has Broncos fans cheering for a few longtime rivals. And a Denver radio station asked whether it should ban a popular Christmas song. Next.
How you doing, sweetheart?
If anyone knows,
there she goes,
the difference between work and duty,
I know you're asking for it.
Gene Jiggets has known ever since he met his wife, Mary.
Mary is a keeper.
He kept her through a life of secrets. In 1951, Jiggets was assigned to an elite group of 28 men working on something they called the hydrogen bomb. And now that his work is done, it is time for his duty, assisting his 93-year-old wife
in entering into dementia,
fighting a disease that's taking her mind.
I said, one thing that I will pledge that I will never do as long as I'm able to assist. I will never put you in a home.
Because she is home.
There have been frightening things in the news lately, familiar things for many Coloradans. Check in with your family and friends. If you or someone you know needs mental health support or emotional help, it's available right this second. A real person ready to provide real problem solving. Call or text Colorado Crisis Services. Let's take care of ourselves and each other.
Hey, Denver, what happens when the most daring team in daytime takes on trending stories live? Anything and everything.
I am pro-sex workers. You're crazy. I said it.
You are totally off base here. I can't believe I'm saying this. I do agree with you. Denver, join the live conversation.
With the DBL Nation.
Daily Blast Live, the talk of what's trending. Weekdays at 1 on 9 News.
It's completely fine to hear something you don't agree with and say, yeah, I still think the exact same thing. Test your own beliefs. We also want Next to be a reflection of you watching at home.
Baby, it's cold outside. It really is. And for now, a local radio station has put a freeze on that holiday song pending a listener poll. After a Cleveland station banned Baby It's Cold Outside, Cozy 101 now wants to know if they should keep the song on rotation too. So it has an online poll asking listeners if they think the song should stay. Cozy says it's also received complaints about the song. This afternoon I saw 94% of those who responded want the song to stay. Doesn't sound like that song is going anywhere anytime soon if that keeps up.
Doesn't look like the cold's going anywhere anytime soon this week either. We are stuck with it. We've got a nice little cold spell here around the metro area. No snowflakes flying in the city, but we are seeing some just south, and it's possible before the night is over we'll have some light snow around Denver. Don't look for this to accumulate too much, up to ½ an inch at best. Most of us get a trace, no matter if you're up around Fort Collins and Greeley where a band is moving through, or even here in Denver and out on the eastern plains. Once that band passes through after 9:30, 10 o'clock, skies will clear. That's going to lead to very cold temperatures tonight. And with extra sunshine tomorrow, warm up. Not really. Temperatures tomorrow are still going to be in the 30s. We're going to drop to about 15 tonight with some light snow ending late. Winds will be out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, chilly with a high of 37, 42 on Wednesday, then 33 on Thursday. No warm up until the weekend. Sunday, we could be up close to 50, which is a change from what we've seen over the last few weeks where snowstorms have hit in time for the weekend.
Right on, Becky. Thank you. The Broncos still have a shot at the playoffs, but beyond having to keep winning, a lot of other teams need to perform as expected. So, I mean, it's a complicated thing to think about. So we asked 9 News Broncos insider Mike Kliss to help this sort it all out.
Well, believe it or not, they have to call on some of their old friends, the Kansas City Chiefs and New England Patriots, to help them out. The Broncos, basically to get in, this is the scenario, and I invite people to go to 9news.com. I break down all the scenarios, all the teams involved. Basically, no matter how you twist it, the Broncos have to win out, which is possible given their opponents next. 2-10 49ers, then the 4-7-1 Browns, then the 2-10 Raiders before playing the Chargers. The best case that I have here is the Broncos win out, hope that the Chargers have the number 5 seed already clinched going into the final week, so Phillip Rivers can sit down and shut up, or maybe one out of the two for the Broncos. Wouldn't play much in that final game, and the Broncos can take care of the Chargers. They still need, on top of that, they need either the Steelers or the Baltimore Ravens to lose at least 2 more. The Steelers have the Patriots and the Saints left, so that's why the Patriots, they can count on them. And then the Ravens have the Chiefs and the Chargers. So right there, the Chiefs, Patriots, Bronco fans should root for them. But still, if the Broncos win out, they need either the Steelers or the Ravens to lose 2 games down the stretch.
With Kyle gone for the next 8 business days, I can do what I want. Beginning today, we will look at history found in newspaper archives from exactly 100 years ago. I spent time at the Denver Library looking for random things that caught my eye. So here is Random Denver History. This ad, printed on December 3rd, 1918, appeared in the Denver Post. "Do you wear pants?" it asks. I hope you do. The advertisement was for a tailor named Dave Handler, who said he was born a tailor and is the best in the city of Denver. 100 years ago, his shop could be found at the corner of 17th and Champa in downtown Denver, right inside the Boston Building. Today, the Boston Building is still there, but of course, Mr. Handler is long gone. The building was actually built in 1890 and was considered Denver's first modern office space. Now, it's made up of lofts, and thankfully, pants are still in style. A 16-year-old from Summit County will compete next month in the Snowshoe World Championship.
I've never been to Italy. This is my first trip to Europe.
Some lines are harder to cross, like the one running down the middle of Colfax, and a most Colorado do-it-yourself project. Next. It's almost like a religion of thought.
Blue shadows on the clouds.
Look to the heavens, lines in the sky that captivate conspiracy theorists. Chemtrails, followers convinced something evil and secret is going on. I can hear you now. Why are we wasting time on this? Social media has become fertilizer for this conspiracy. Recent surveys indicate 1 in 5 Americans believe in this theory. So I could see a line in the sky.
Yes,
right
2 of them.
right
Yeah.
now.
They do tend to put them in front of the sun, which makes sense if they're trying to block sunlight.
What do you think is going on up there?
So, well, what they say is that this is sort of a desperate measure to counteract global warming.
Zadnik is quick to say he doesn't trust the government. Can you blame the guy? After all, our government doesn't really have the greatest track record when it comes to telling the truth. Agent Orange, the Tuskegee syphilis study, the human plutonium injection experiments. I can go on and on. That's the government. But what about science? What is that white line in the sky behind a plane?
Well, the white line behind a jet is a natural process that goes on with the relationship between the aerodynamics of the aircraft in the atmosphere.
They won't even say that word. Scientifically, they're called condensation trails. Contrails for short.
So what you're really doing is you're sort of artificially generating a cloud.
So what we see up there is not the government intentionally putting chemicals into the sky for geoengineering.
No.
There's no accepted scientific evidence whatsoever that proves a covert program is real. Based on our highly credible experts and scientific approach to chemtrails, we can verify the chemtrail conspiracy is false.
Latina for me means family.
Being Latino to me means having pride in my heritage.
It means being part of a community where you're never alone. Being Latina is being strong and independent.
Being Latino is really everything to me.
It's who I am.
Being Latina to me means that I can achieve whatever I want.
What Latina means to me is being bold.
It's being creative, innovative, resourceful.
Being Latina means celebrating life in a unique way.
Take part in strengthening our communities and powering nonprofits during this year's Colorado Gives Day on December 4th. Large or small, all donations help. Head to coloradogives.org to find the nonprofit you want to contribute to.
Colfax Avenue is one of the country's longest and busiest roads. When you park in the middle of it, of course, you've crossed a line. A next viewer named Frank sent us this photo. When we say the middle of Colfax, we mean the middle of Colfax. Somehow someone left their SUV straddled over the median of West Colfax. Frank says the undercarriage was touching the median. We're guessing the driver didn't really mean to park here, but chose to when they got stuck. To tell someone else they've crossed a line, email us at next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext. You ever know those kind of people who are like really instantly good at something? You practice and then they do the thing and they're great and you're like, what? Meet 16-year-old Jeremiah Vale. One day he picked up a pair of snowshoes. Now he's going to Italy. Photojournalist Byron Reed shows us just how far his new hobby will take him.
It's super cool because there's so many winter sports. I was 5 when my grandma first bought my whole family snowshoes. Made our own tracks and we made mazes and smiley faces and just, it's always fun. Let's go, boys! I'm a big cross-country runner and snowshoeing is a lot like cross-country. I first joined snowshoeing to get a little bit of extra cross-country training.
Nice one!
I compete in 5-kilometer races just like cross-country, but in snow. A lot of it's packed down groomers like Nordic trails, and a lot of it is single track. I started snowshoeing last February when my coach Barth from the ski team asked me if I'd like to go to the Colorado State race, and I went. I won that. Me and my grandpa and my mom went to Vermont for the National Snowshoe Race.
Here we go, they are off!
And I won there too. I'm the Junior National Snowshoe Champion. This month I am leaving for the World Race, and we're going to be competing in January 5th in Italy. It's in the Dolomite Mountain Range up in northeastern Italy.
World Championship medalist.
There will be several teams from other countries. It's more popular in Europe, and Canada and the U.S. are bringing a team together. I just thought it would be a fun thing to get into and try out, and it's a good thing to help me train, but I did not think I'd get to Worlds, and it's really cool to get up there. I'm just hoping to do my best and have a fun time up there because it's going to be a really cool trip.
Good luck. Vale and his family will be leaving for Italy at the end of the month. People in Summit County have been fundraising to help pay for some of the expenses. A customized camper is the most Colorado thing we saw today. That and your feedback next.
These girls are too much.
Can I have your attention, everyone? That depends. Are you a cat video? Too funny. Here's your fish of the day. That day is last Monday. Too wild. Together. Caroline's got a date tonight. It's not a joke. I'm really going on a date. Stop it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pee.
2 broke girls.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
The Broncos Huddle. Wednesday nights at 6:30 on 9 News.
Our players are challenged every time they hit this field. But every moment in life is a challenge for a young man with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a lethal genetic disorder. You can help.
Text CURE to 50555 to donate $10 for the 10th anniversary of the AFCA's Coach to Cure MD. Text CURE to 50555.
Coach to Cure MD, because these young men deserve a chance to win. Right, Dominic?
Right, Coach.
Text CURE today.
Jewish Family Service distributes tons of food to the hungry, counsels hundreds of people in pain, employs those with disabilities, provides hope and help to seniors, helps the unemployed get jobs, and assists refugees new to America.
Touching 21,000 people every single year.
JFS does so much, and yet it comes down to you.
You have the power to change the world.
You think it's the end. You're not gonna live.
We were in a moment of terror.
It was just a horrible scene.
I turned around and looked at my house, and I realized that I didn't have a house anymore.
This is how you say, it's going to be okay, to someone who just lost everything. That yes, we'll find you somewhere to stay. And yes, your children will have breakfast. Every 8 minutes, the American Red Cross responds to a disaster and makes this promise. Help us keep it.
All right, it's time for the most Colorado thing we saw today is a camper that appears to have been customized in stages. A next viewer named Dara sent us this. She took it in Fort Lupton at Pearson Park. She says the driver was an older gent who looked like Santa at Woodstock. He was traveling with his husky, of course he was, and with that canoe up top. Send us your most Colorado pictures to next@9news.com or get our attention with the Hey Next hashtag. All right, let's talk about that song, Baby It's Cold Outside. Why would people want that banned? Some people want that banned from radio stations. Well, if you Google the lyrics, some people feel the man in that song is acting a little bit too aggressive towards his date. You be the judge. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Subscribe to the Next YouTube channel for the best of Next and some other stuff.